All right. So, what do you guys remember most about the neighborhood? What was the neighborhood like when you were growing up?
Very friendly. Very friendly.
Yeah, we had
We had
rock fights.
We used to have little kid fights, rock fights, and
But
different little fights like fist fights or whatever.
we got along.
But that was 5 minutes later. We were back into playing ball or something on the empty field.
Now you figure about then, when we were in the lower grades in grade school now, that's when the black migration from the south came. That's when they started pouring in here. And like I said, on Lily Street, even there, that's first place I heard of Andalusia, Alabama. You know about that. Ever since I was little, where are you from? Andalusia, Alabama. And I remember one of them, Richard Johnson, said Richard was something to your granddad. I forget what, though. He lives in California now. Anyway, he was riding up down the Middlebrooks, coming down the Middlebrooks yard there, and he said, "Now, what did you say you call these?" He was riding a sled. He said, "What did you say you call these things?" Never seen a sled, That was really something to us, He never didn't know what a sled was, Then you start having all kind of dreams like living in a place where ain't no snow,
Yeah.
But they were steady pouring up here then like crazy.
Do you remember what year that was at all in particular?
In the
46 or
45, 46, yeah.
46, 47.
What happened, you had the black guys going into service back then from down south.
Oh, yeah.
And when you got out, you got the muster and out pay, $300. And with $300 in the mid-40s, you could come north and bring your family up here, and you could do a lot. Of course, a lot of them came up without their families, and their families came later. But every day at school, it's like a new guy, where you from? Georgia, Tennessee, Alabama, Mississippi. Every day you'd see somebody new almost.
Yep.
Do you remember? I know you guys already talked a little bit about it. Do you remember some more about the stores and the restaurants in the area at the time? Any memories at all about that?
Yeah, I remember one I never will forget. We had a guy named Old Man Cook. It should have been named Crook. He had a grocery store right there at Daisy Street there, right, just a half a block up the alley there. And our parents were sitting, we had a food bill up there, and
Right.
he pencil whooped us. And I used to wonder all the time, my grandmother sent me up there to get a couple pounds of hamburger. He'd reach in there and get the hamburger and everything and throw it up there. He never missed. He always had 2 pounds of hamburger on there if that's what you wanted. Or either if you wanted a pound. He acted like he couldn't see the scales. He was tipping up like this here so he could see the scales. But he had a hand down here making it 2 pounds. I was about 8 years old, and I couldn't understand. I said, "Now, wait a minute. He's doing something. I just couldn't figure it." But I was 20 years old before I figured it out.
Then they changed another guy, boy, it was a pretty nice guy, Jack Marshall.
Yeah, Jack Marshall, yeah, he was real nice.
Real
Yeah.
nice guy.
Now, do you think that he do that to everyone, or did he do that to you because you were young and they
No,
thought
he
could?
did that to make a living.
Okay.
That was his living. Black, white, pink, green. Yep.
There was another store right there. That was on Daisy Street where he was right up from our house. But there was another store down there further that we went to sometime, Hunter's.
What kind of store was that?
Same
Grocery.
Grocery, yeah.
Little grocery stores, they were everywhere then, family owned. A lot of family owned businesses back then. You take the guys we went to school with and girls. Are you familiar with Mansfield? It's north end.
Pretty familiar.
The Cameo, where it was right on Harker and Lily. That's where we'd buy our ice cream cones. We'd walk down there to get ice cream cones. They had a little side door we'd go in. I don't think the side door was for blacks. I think it was just for youngsters because it was a bar. The other door it was a bar, so we didn't go in that way. We bought ice cream cones from them. Then Hunters, Cameo, and they was basically the only places we went to. We got dead and them started going out buying their meats and different things from other places. Fredericktown.
And another thing, when we was making this $1 and something an hour, you could go to the grocery store and they had live chickens. They sit right outside in a crate there. You could get 4 of those for $1. But you had to take them home, wring their necks, pick the feathers off of them, reach up in there and get those guts out. Then you cut them up and everything and get them ready. But you could get 4 for $1.
Was that pretty common? Was that the way you would get
That-
your
that was
chicken?
the way of life.
Even
Yeah.
had vendors that came around,
Yeah, you
especially on
vendors.
Saturday,
Yeah.
selling live chickens,
Oh, really?
They sell live
fish,
chicken,
watermelon,
fish, watermelon, bananas. I know a
banana,
guy-
them little.
I know a guy like they just up to
So you say they were vendors? They would come around like with a
Yeah,
truck, or
they-
how did that?
They'd come out the south with a load of watermelons or bananas.
Would they just like set up on the roadside, or
No,
they
they
go
would-
door to
they
door?
just-
Or
They'd move
By the
and
time
stop,
they went,
and then people gather around buying, and they'd go a little further. Stuff like that's the first time I ever got enough bananas. Guys selling them, what you get, how many for 10 cents?
oh man, I don't know, you get at least
I finally got enough bananas that day.
6 or 7 of them for 10 cents.
But the chickens and fish, watermelons, and of course, smashed our fingers a couple times on the ice truck.
Yeah, I got one now.
They had the
Still
ice
got
truck
it.
going around.
Yeah, I did that when I was about 10 or 11 years old.
You had
Riding on the ice truck, and he turned
catching
the-
rides, cause you had a stoop on the back. But, everybody had a ice card in their window. 25, 50, 75, 100, depending on how much ice they wanted. They turned the card so the amount they wanted was up.
so that was for their
Ice.
refrigeration. I mean, there
that
was no.
was-
So they would buy a
That was
block
your
of
ice
ice.
For
box.
refrigeration, yeah.
That was the ice box there.
They had ice boxes instead of
wasn't-
refrigerator.
Sure.
You know what a refrigerator was that we bought our first one?
No, we had that in Westinghouse down there, remember?
Yeah.
But I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was going to ask you. You mentioned something. So that people would put it in their window that indicated that's.
It
It's a square card.
A square card,
with-
just like
With a
this.
different number, 25,
Would have
50, 75, and
25,
100. And
25.
however much ice they wanted, that's what they would put up in the window.
Whatever
So the
number.
Iceman would come around
what the-
and
Yeah.
bring you your ice delivery for that. How often would they do that? Like,
Once a week.
Is that what it was?
Well, sometimes twice a week.
Yeah.
I think it was twice a week in the summertime because of, the heat and stuff.
so I once heard, did they get ice out of North Lake Park? Was
When we were coming along down there on Fifth Street, right across from the post office there on Fifth, on the other side of Fifth Street there, was the old ice house with a garage. It's a garage there now. And that was the ice house.
okay. So that
You
must.
could go down and pick up your own ice if you
Yeah.
had a transportation.
And they made ice down here.
Go down there, drop a quarter in, and ship you out.
I don't know
Big
about
block.
the North Lake Park.
I don't remember no ice house being out in North Lake Park.
Yeah,
Or
that-
you mean cutting ice, I think.
Yeah, they were making it, and this may have been way early. This may have been
Yeah.
like late 1800s. In
Okay.
the wintertime they're down. But and I might be wrong about this too. I had heard something about that. I wondered.
Yeah, I don't know nothing about that.
But okay.
This Iceman down there and the hustling we done, like I said, with junkyards too. Pop bottles, junkyards.
Even sold rags.
Yeah, they had about 3 junkyards over there on.
On Longview,
Longview.
they had about 5 over there. They had 3 of them right on Diamond Street there, where the post office is. 3 of them between 5th Street and 6th Street there.
So that was
3
junkyards then?
Junkyards, yeah, that was back in the early 40s.
Get some junk up there, whether it was in a wheelbarrow or a wagon, 4-wheel wagon, you pull it over there.
Most of the people that went to the junkyard then built their own 2-wheel carts. And they would go around picking up junk, scrap iron here, scrap iron there, and everything.
There was no canned business back
Wasn't no,
then.
you know, wasn't no can business. But they would fill up their carts and everything and push it on down to the junkyard and get those $2 or $3. If you had rags, you'd turn around there and take their rags down there. So rags was what, half a cent a pound?
Not much, yeah, that much.
Yeah, I don't think we sold none of them but about once.
Our main hustle when we were real young was the granary.
The granary down there.
We'd get people, see, you were allowed chickens in your yard then. And we had about 3 or 4 customers. And we had a man out on the company line that had hogs. And he became a good customer of ours. We'd go down there and get it in the grain cars after they get through with them, after they get them out. You know, those cars had wood sides on the interior, and at the top they were open about a couple inches. When they filled up with grain, some would go over behind there, and at the bottom you had that. And this is what was referred to as a leak. If we found one that had done that, as long as you go like that, boy, it kept coming down till it was empty. We call that a leak. And fill up a bucket or two. We had a quarter bucket and we had a 50-cent bucket.
Or maybe a burlap sack.
Yeah. And that sold to people with chickens.
Yeah, with corn or wheat or even oats.
So that was pretty common for people to have chickens. And
Everybody
what about?
We had some.
Street at one time had chicken, a yard full of chickens. They had a chicken coop, had them cooped in there and everything.
Couldn't wait till they got big enough to start eating.
Yeah.
The Mills would give them away. Lance Mills was down here on 5th Street between Main and Diamond. You had Lance Mills down there. And where was, did you have a Hanley Mill somewhere?
Yeah, that was Hanley.
That was Hanley.
That was Hanley there, and Lance was right across the street there where the City Mills thing is
Okay,
now.
right.
They
And,
give away a box of chickens around Easter.
Easter is usually when they
It'd be about 50 chicks in a box.
buy 25 pounds of food. Was it 25 pounds or 10 pounds, whatever it was, and they give you 50 chickens.
Yeah, give them to you.
And
You
we
take them
raise
home and raise them. We raised chickens ourselves.
Was that I mean, did you ever get into like other like hogs or anything like that, or that was
No, we didn't get into the hog
a little
business.
more space for that? I would.
People outside town or back there off Oakenwalk,
Yeah, back off
over
of
there, the Rubber
Oakenwall.
Works area,
Some out on the.
they had a few hogs.
Some out in the camps, they had hogs.
But see, we were right down in town.
See, at that time, the city limit thing was right there by the railroad tracks there. Anything beyond that, yeah, everything was considered as country. You know? They made moonshine.
So tell us about that. What was that like? I mean, was that?
We
Well,
didn't
we
know
wasn't-
about that
that
because
we
we were
just-
too small.
We just knew what they were doing, but you know, we wasn't up to, you know, we didn't know if they were making it,
Uh-huh.
you know, 'cause we didn't know hear nobody making no daggone whiskey or nothing. But after we got about 15, 16 years, well, yeah, he was making moonshine.
I see. So how's the neighborhood different today? What kind of perspective can you give us?
Today from there,
Yeah.
it's dangerous.
Stealing from each
Okay.
other more. And
Because-
you didn't see
We never did lock our doors.
you didn't
Never.
get
I
out
don't
of
care
that.
whether we went to Cleveland or whether we went to the grocery store. You didn't lock your doors. Nothing. You just,
What they call home invasions.
yeah.
But wasn't there. You didn't have nothing like
And what do you think? What's the big change? I mean, do you blame it on sort of drugs? Is it?
Jobs and
that.
drugs.
A lot
lot-
of
That's
Yeah.
what the main thing is drugs, because, you know, most of these kids that's out there that don't know drugs is because misleading and the quick dollar.
You had a few guys there that didn't want to work.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah, we had a
jobs
couple
were
of
plentiful, but
Yeah.
there was a few guys that didn't want to work.
We had, what, about 5 or 6 of them that we knew it wouldn't work.
You know.
Everybody else, you know, it was either glad had to quit school and go to work, you know, then it wasn't about education, it was about trying to get that dollar, you know. And about getting out on your own, you know. Now, like today, they don't believe in getting out there. I don't know, they act like they're scared to live by themselves.
So, what was life like for African Americans in Mansfield during the 40s and the 50s?
Well, they set your limits, but you were so busy trying to make a living that you didn't pay no attention to them because you stayed within your limits because you knew that you didn't want to go uptown. So you didn't want no, like me and him, we rather for the police to catch us if we did wrong than
Mom and Dad.
than mom and dad. See, you know, they didn't know. They're like, well, I worked at the bowling alley. Sometimes I'd come home with a whole lot of tips. Maybe I might have $5. Yeah, I had to explain that. I had to explain it. Sometimes they'd call back up to the bowling alley.
And we'd go get our conies and stuff to go. I don't know when I first seen a black sit down in the Coney Island.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing said he couldn't, like the signs that was down south,
Yeah.
but they just didn't. And the same way with, you guys wouldn't know nothing about the Boston Spaghetti House, would you? It was down there on Main Street. It was quite a few years before I seen a black sit down in there, and he, you know, it was a well-known place.
Well, no,
Eat,
good
you know.
food, everything, but you couldn't sit down there and eat. You know, like you say, you
You
didn't
know,
have
like
no
I said,
signs.
nobody, it was an unspoken thing,
You know,
nobody said don't do it. And, so, it was, some things they more or less segregated themselves
Yeah,
on, in the movies. There was, 5 theaters here, and one caved in when we were
yeah.
real young, so that left 4. And they had the Ritz down there on North Main Street, right by the Eagles. They had the Ritz where we go mostly, and then they had the park up there on the square, and a bunch of lawyers and jeweler,
Where Miller Jewelry used to be right there.
and on the corner of Diamond and South Park Street. And when they go in those theaters, I guess they sit there because the buddies was there, usually on the right side. Once in a while, they'd sit somewhere else, nothing, it wasn't segregated, but they would segregate themselves on that at the Ritz Park. We didn't get to the Madison, Ohio that
Yeah,
often.
Madison, Ohio.
It cost too much money, 35 cents. We could get in the park for a dime.
So was that because they showed different types of films there, or I mean,
Yeah,
just
They
it was,
showed the later ones first at the Madison and Ohio,
I see.
up there on Park Avenue where the Renaissance is now,
Mhm.
was Ohio Theater.
Mhm.
And the Madison down further where the farmer, right next to the farmers, not farmers, Chase Bank
Right.
building is. That was the Madison right near, and they were a little more expensive. We'd go to the ones that was a dime, the park was a dime, 16 cents on Sunday. And the Ritz was down there price-wise like that.
But the Ritz in the park usually showed cowboys or either cartoons. You know, mostly. They might show one of the big films, you know, that these other ones had after
They get them
later
later.
on, later, yeah.
Then, of course, the drive-ins is real popular.
Yeah, drive-in are very
About
popular.
4 or
there.
5 of those around here. And they, buck night, you could get in there, a whole carload for $1. I mean, you could get in there.
What about the parks? I'd heard that they were segregated.
They
Is that-
were.
Yeah.
They were very much so, because I played ball and I know we could not get a park.
We,
Oh,
the
man.
first park we were familiar with was Johns Park. And like I said, you wouldn't know it now, but it was all white around there. And but we would go up there. My sisters first would go, and then later we'd go in there.
They were segregated, but what they would do, they would get your top black athletes, and put one on this team, one on this team, one on this. You know, Because when we started the slow pitch softball, and right after Cyclops opened up, and they turned around and one guy told me, he said, man, he said, you know, for 3 straight years, we didn't lose a game. And one of the white guys told me one time, he said, yeah, he said, you know something? I said, what's that? He said, man, you guys got the ups on us. I said, why is that? He said, you guys got one black team. He said, you guys can pick anybody you want, you know, and get as solid as you want. He said, well, we got 30 white teams here, and we got to split up. You know, I said, well, you got a point. I wish you luck, you know.
It changed later then.
But at the same time, we like I say, we went 3 straight years without losing a game. But every time we went to Perrysville, Lucas, Butler, or Belleville to those weekend tournaments, we knocked the hell out of second place. First place was already taken. Big tournament, I tell you, you guys come back next year, okay? Man, we really enjoyed you. Make us comfortable, you know. What we paid, we went on, we got us some beer somewhere, sit on the side of the road, drank some beer, had some fun. Next year we go back, you know we were the best team. But we went along with it, you know. It wasn't nothing strange because every other place you went was like that. You know, whether you went to the drugstore, the grocery store, the ball field, the work, you know. Just learn how to deal around it, deal with it, and keep on going. You know.
Now, for the parks, was it like a kind of like an unspoken rule again, or was it actually like, I don't want to say, I don't know if a law is the right word for it, but was it just something that people did themselves? Or
It's what the people did themselves, because we had guys working for the city, and they would put in for a park, you know, and everything, you know. And there's one guy, he'd put in on Friday for us to have at least practice twice next week. Well, I see what I can do. They never get in touch with you. Then when you go up there and ask them, they say, well, they was all filled up. Then they changed it. You can't come in here on Friday and put in for one next week. You got to come in Monday. Monday was too late. But yet you can't go in on Friday. I don't know how it worked, but you know, Monday was too late. But Friday, yes, then you couldn't do it. But we dealt around it because we always found us some kind of empty lot or something, you know. And I guess one of the things that made us so good is because we played in rocks and gravel. We played in grass this high and everything, you know.
Your skating rink was segregated because we skated on Mondays.
The only day you
Only day we skated was Mondays, and then later they started having midnight skates on a Saturday night. But other than that, through the week, no Black Saturday Coliseum.
was it true too? One of the ladies that mentioned that black people couldn't swim in Mansfield for a long time.
Out at
White
Liberty.
people.
Black people.
No, black people, they weren't allowed to
people,
swim.
Liberty Park,
Well,
and then from time to time they would change
Yeah, they would-
the swimming pool at North Lake. Depending on who owned it, they kept changing.
yeah,
But sometimes casino pool they called it.
yeah,
at one
because they
time.
had a little
And-
thing out there.
Wasn't any pool for us to swim
It
in.
was okay for you to go to the
YMCA.
North Lake Park. Then they changed it. It was okay for you to go to Liberty, but you wasn't allowed in North Lake.
Liberty started way later than
Oh,
before
yeah,
that.
yeah, it was,
Black
yeah,
blacks
yeah,
in
before,
there.
yeah, it was in the probably the late 60s or 70s before Liberty
Yeah.
started having any blacks out there in that pool.
We had to go try to swim where the snakes are.
Yeah, yeah, that's where we learned how to swim, with the snakes.
Yeah.
Was it like a creek or something?
Yeah.
Go find us a creek and jump in it. We didn't know how deep the water was or nothing. We just swam, go there and swim.
All right, so how was Mansfield like in the 60s and the 70s during the Civil Rights Movement? Do you guys remember anything in particular about that?
Well, there wasn't any change here except in the jobs. I'm not sure, don't quote me on this, but I think Gorman Rupp started hiring blacks in the 60s. They didn't hire blacks till the
It had to be late 60s.
Tapping. They didn't start. They didn't hire. Well, Westinghouse, when we were coming up, no blacks had a cleanup crew in the offices, but it was way after the war before the blacks could work at Westinghouse. Westinghouse, Tapping, Gorman, Rupp, in those places. Like I said, the foundries was about it. Steel mill
Yeah.
there. Barnes had a foundry where that trailer place is on the corner of Longview and North Main, where they build those trailers. That was a foundry there, bound blacks who worked there. They had the menial jobs, like I said. But coming up, most of them coming up from the South was glad to get that.
Yeah.
Because down South was worse than that, you know. And we didn't have no contact with the South. I was 17, like I said, when I first left the state. I went down there to Jeffersonville, Indiana, but it's right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. Well, I'd never seen a sign say white only, and I'd never seen nothing like that.
Can you tell us anything about sort of, some of the folks have told us about Mr. Middlebrook and O.C. Hill and folks like that in the community. And
Yeah, they lived on Lily Street, see, that's where we were raised. Mr. Middlebrook had his nose in a lot of stuff.
He was really the turning point. You know,
Of the desegregation of the
yeah,
school.
Right.
you have any
Even though they
specific?
did get rid of the black teachers after
That was the down part of it.
Yeah. But I guess they wasn't ready for the movement, you know.
Middlebrook was a good guy. He sold insurance, and he had you know, from time to time, different people had little candy stores in their house. So a few canned goods. And Middlebrook was the one that done that.
Yeah, he made his hustler, you know,
Yeah.
till he got into real estate.
Then he built him a new house first out there on Orange Street. He built a new house over there.
Well, speaking of real estate, what do you have any memories or anything you can tell us about? I think they call it redlining. The fact that they wouldn't give blacks
Couldn't buy anywhere.
couldn't get a loan is what I'm told.
Oh,
The banks was not gonna give.
right. You couldn't get a loan from the bank. Even when I was in my 20s, hardly. I got my first loan at First National. This guy gave it to me. Real good guy. But if we wanted a car, loan company. They had loan companies everywhere then,
On every corner.
but
there.
not banks. Later they started doing the bank.
Actually, Spitzer is the one that opened that up. Because back in the middle 50s, Spitzer started up there in Cleveland. Well, he was already in Cleveland dealership in Cleveland. But he the one said, come and get this car 90 days before you make your first payment.
And then Westinghouse had a big strike in 55. Spitzer would give them a car.
Yeah.
Don't have to pay them nothing. Till
You don't
they
have
go
to
back
pay
work.
nothing till you go back to work. So pretty soon, they said, well, if we gonna keep up with the rest of them, we gotta do this and gotta do that. So
They had to break it open then.
they had to break it
more or
open,
less.
you know, so, with the loan company now, the bank still was, they were,
In the 60s, I was getting bank credit though.
you were getting bank credit, but you could not go out there,
Couldn't buy anywhere.
you wasn't gonna buy out on Little Belfast Road. You wasn't gonna buy in Cherry Hill, Diamond Hill. You wasn't gonna buy those. Now, after white people get through, live there 10 or 15 years, and they move out, you eligible for a loan for that house. But as far as building one, no. I even had some here lately in the last 10 years. I know two guys.
Less than 2 years, you got two nephews,
That's what I'm saying.
Forrest and
And Doug.
Doug.
Yeah.
Doug just settled
They
these
sold the house out from under him. A breach of
down
contract.
there on,
And one out
you
there on
familiar with the
Stewart
Lexington
Road.
area, 546, Route 546 down there? He just settled that, he got some money from that, him and his wife. Where he put in for a house to go get it, and then he met the guy, or should I say the guy met him, found out he was black. They put in for that house. Yeah, but he got paid for it. The other nephew didn't settle his, he just gave up on it, I think, Forrest.
No, boy, got a settlement on there.
I thought, I didn't think he said it. But anyway, that's, like you said, 10 years, the last 10 years.
Yeah, some things fortunately don't change.
Don't
do
go
they?
away,
It's
yeah.
terrible.
He was up there at, Schuster's garage,
Uh-huh.
everything, you know.
My wife's grandmother, Thomas Music, people seemed that she had different things.
Mm. Yeah, if you knew that some white people, and you was in good standing with them and everything, you know, they would, for a car or for a used home, you was good, but now for the new home, you understand, it was, just wasn't gonna do it. Guy told me one time, he used to tell me all the time, Ed, he said, let me give you a loan, let me give you a loan. So one day I said, I was gonna mess with it. I said, I'm ready for that loan you've been talking about. So we talked for a while and everything, and he asked me, he said, how much you thinking about it? I said, about $150,000. He said, what are you gonna do with that much money? I said, well, I want me a new home, and I wanna go in business for myself. He called himself writing it up and everything, you know, and everything, and we talked about it another 15 minutes. He said, well, either you can come back or either I can call you in the next couple of days. I said, okay. So I just happened to be uptown one day. I stopped in. What we doing? How we coming out? Well, I looked at this thing and everything. He said, you don't make enough money. All you want is yours. You want yours every month. You know what I'm saying? What do you mean I don't make enough? Well, you gotta make so much and everything before you're eligible for this and everything, you know.
On that part, there was, in the last 20 years, I put in for a loan at Key Bank. Now that was, First National.
First National, yeah.
Key Bank. Of course, I put in for a few for. One time in the late 70s, I was driving a truck, and I seen a car I wanted up here in Sandusky. I was running Sandusky every day. And I come and put in a loan for a Key Bank back then, or First National. And come back in a few days, we'll let you know. And I come back in a few days. It was a 77 Lincoln. And it was 78. Yeah. And I want that car, you know. Come back in a couple of days, and he said, we can't let you do it. He said, you can't afford that 77 Lincoln. And I let scratching my head. You afford it. I went back. I went later on that year, 78, and bought a new one. A couple months later, I bought a new one. Now, he told me I couldn't afford it. I'm thinking, wait a minute. At that time, now I was working Teamsters. And I started Teamsters. I don't know what I was making in 78, but I started in 75 at $7.21 an hour. And he told me I couldn't afford it. So, you know, I was making pretty good 3 years later. He told me I couldn't afford that. Then I was driving a truck for Enway. And this guy wanted to sell me a truck. And this guy had First National, Sopranos up there on Ashland Road. Soprano was his name. I don't know whether you guys know that name or not, but they used to have a big barn on Main Street, the brother did. But this brother was manager up to the bank, and I put in for this truck. The loan wasn't that big. I figured how much he wanted for that truck. It was a good buy. And I knew the truck because I ran with the guy all the time. And they told me to come back. And I went back, and he said, I've been turned down. Now, the co-manager, I'll never forget him saying, your credit's all right, your credit's all right. But when I went back, I can't get this. And it really got to me, and I went back a week later. And I said, I want to talk to him, and I said, how come you didn't give me that money? And he said, well, you couldn't show us how you were gonna pay for it. I was already working for this company. All they do is just, okay, I'm driving my own truck now. Now, I don't know whether that was, I don't know the reason. I'm not gonna put it on one thing, but it was one of two things. It was either the color thing, or I was currently working for a woman up there at the main office at First National Bank. And they knew where I worked, who I worked for. And it was like, no, you stay in your place, keep working for her. Cause she thought the world of me, you know. She probably would have been glad to see me get a truck of my own. And they turned me down.
But on a case like that, it's because that that they don't want you to be competitive to them.
That's what I said. It was like stay in your place.
A whole lot of that is going on today. Whole lot of it. They turn around and tell you right quick the other thing. Well, I'm sorry, but if you could do this or if you could do that, you got everything I told you I could do on that piece of paper there. If you would come clean with me at first, I probably wouldn't have had my ideas about you. But now I'm getting ideas about you. Yes, yeah.
So you still run into some stuff like we said with those houses and stuff like that. Discriminating. But it's hard to get around it today, but some still just, some don't mind. I'm like this. No, you can't have that house.
Yep.
You know, there's still some bold ones. For the most part, people comply with laws. Everybody ain't like that. We know that. But yeah, there's a few out there.